Welcome to another Discover Jamaica podcast. Today we're going to be looking at the Chinese influence in the Jamaican economy. Now, with me is my former high school history teacher and English teacher, Vivian Grant, who I affectionately call GB. How are you?
I'm good. Woke up this morning at 3 a.m., register called, and I said present, and I'm
All
giving
right,
time.
very good. All right, let's get straight into it, GB. For this episode, and remember, you can go to my website. I put the link on the screen. You can scan the QR code and go straight to the news page of the website where you can read all these articles that we're discussing. Because I know sometimes people want to read the sources and they want to get more information. So you can just go straight to that and get all that information. Now, for today's topic, all right, we are going to be talking about that Jamaica China relationship. Good. And for the past 2 decades, we have seen a significant shift in our economy landscape. Chinese influence has become undeniable, especially in our road infrastructure, GB, don't it?
Very much so.
Yeah, man.
Everywhere you go.
And there is a new auto market that that also is growing, right? So this
Yeah.
is a new phenomenon. But I mean, what basically sparked this topic, for us was there was a recent thing with some Chinese mechanics operating in Jamaica, and it was a big boom, right? So that's really what that's really what sparked this discussion for us, and that's really where we're going to go with it. All right. So GB, this is the outline that we're going to take our viewers through, right?
Yes.
We're gonna talk about Chinese mechanics. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about Chinese made cars in Jamaica. We're gonna talk about the
Mm-hmm.
big topic, right? Which
I
most
wait 2000.
all right, that most people want to talk about is Highway 2000. And then we're going to also talk about the history of the Chinese people in Jamaica because we have to be
Yeah.
fair and look at, our Jamaica's strong relationship with the Chinese people in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica.
Yes.
All right. So, GB, the first thing, so there was this Chinese mechanic place that opened up. Very nice business and everything like that, right? And it was making headways because people were going there in droves. Now, let's just give you a little backtrack, right, and a backstory. Jamaica registered over 1,000 vehicles. So that's a modest figure if it asks me, right? The real figure is probably much higher. None Jamaica have a lot of vehicles. That's basically what I'm trying to say on our roads. Good. So this place it named WH Car Service Phenomenon, right? And this is what really sparked all of this discussion. Now, people were lined up. They're located on Ferry. If anybody know where Ferry is, I mean, I know we have this large diaspora crowd. So I mean, you can Google it. You can look where Ferry is. Ferry Police. You have what's the high school that's
Now on your way to Spanish Town, St. Catherine. Yeah.
right. What's the high school that's on Ferry, GB?
It's not Jose. No, it's not Jose. Oh, hi there.
Heidel.
Little below hi there. Hi there. High school. Yes.
All right. So people lined up in that vicinity from 5 a.m. in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eagerly waiting for the vehicles to be serviced, right? So it became a social media sensation. This one lady had her sheet beside her, right, in the wee hours of the night, GB.
She she came in overnight because she wanted to be at the top of the line or near the top of the line. That's how great an impact this garage, this mechanic thing was.
That is so true. So, anyway, what really sold it was this. It was efficient, it was at a good cost, and the speed at which people were getting their service, right? So it drew massive crowd. Customers, consistently talked about the pace. GB, it was operating so well that they had to put a sign on the gate stating that they had 800
Good
vehicles
cars.
waiting, right? So 800 vehicles in waiting. This wasn't just a little spot, and I mean they set it up quite professional. I mean, it's not something that was set up, in a way that you can say, boy, never
Yeah.
try a thing type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there was this one story, GB, that really sparked my interest. And let me tell you what that story was. So, this person on a TVJ interview stated that he was having some transmission problems with his vehicle. Good. And he went to his traditional mechanic, and they told him that the job would have been $180,000 to $200,000 to fix it.
Mm-hmm. To make
He went,
another thing.
he went to this place now, good, and he got the service done for $30,500 GB.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the
So
discrepancy?
his usual traditional mechanic was charging him almost 6 times.
Basically,
Wow. Wow.
no, as you mentioned this now, the local mechanics were up in arms because they must say, yo, they are taking away customers by in droves, right? And many were feeling squeezed and struggled to compete with the prices and the speed that these new entrants, were basically operating on. And keep in mind, all of this kind of attention and this customer that they garnered was in like all a 4 month period, GB.
It was some of that period, 4 months.
Yeah. So it wasn't it wasn't like it was in this long standing company. No, GB, you can have your gripe sometime with some local mechanics. What's that?
Like you take your car in and it's 6 months. You fix what you took it in, you took it in to look at the engine and they say, okay, it's fixed. On the very weekend you take it home, another problem starts. Good. And it's like, and it sparks from the engine you just fixed.
Hmm.
Makes no sense.
True.
And you keep spending.
So, needless to say, the Jamaican government had to intervene because, people were questioning how them set up shop so fast and how was this taking place in Jamaica and what is the legitimacy of it. So, after the public outcry, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, right, started to investigate it, and the minister, Colonel Charles Jr.,
Yeah, he was at that time. He was the
yes,
minister. Yes.
so he released a statement stating that there are two things that we have said that we have continued to do. It's one, to make sure that the rule of law is upheld in Jamaica, and the other one, right, anyone operating who is a foreign national, which is what comes under the Labor of Ministry and Social Security, does so in adherence with the law. So what they found was that several of the workers there did not have work permit. And because of that, the company has had to cease operation.
Have they ceased operation completely?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
that
Them have shut
it's
down.
closed down?
Them not
Or
scaled
they
down. Shut down.
shut down?
Yeah, they have stopped.
Wow.
Right. So because some, I mean, I didn't listen. I've been, because we are naturalized citizens, right?
Yes. We
We don't
don't
really,
think.
we don't
And
understand.
our loyalty is to um, paying less and efficiency.
So
And that's
we
the truth.
So we don't really understand, say, you need work permit because just like our previous topic about United States deporting 4,000 Jamaicans,
Right.
go and watch that podcast as well. That's a very nice podcast. It was the first we're doing it in this type of format, so bear with us. Sometimes there was some audio delay in it, but the message nonetheless is extremely informative, pretty much like this one, right? So in that one, the Trump administration plans to deport 4,000 Jamaican, over a very timely period. And many Jamaicans have already come home. And I mean, it slipped my mind that you need work permit as a foreigner in
Yes.
different country. So needless to say, and then GB, you were saying that all the workers in the Chinese place were basically Chinese people, like they weren't.
Yes. The word Chinese. Not one that looks like you or me.
So
But
that
it does not matter when you are getting at the end product is good and the cost it's not even competitive, is way lower. Then I'm not going to think that I'm getting my car is going to be fixed, and not only that, technologically, they seem to have been way up there.
so
Looking things.
people are say, oh, oh, China set up all of these things. No, GB, another Chinese place get hit too. The same
Same
period.
time.
So there was this another place called Sparks Auto Repairs, right?
Yes.
So Sparks Auto Repairs is located in St. Anne. Good. And they basically do the same thing. And this story was reported in the Jamaica Observer, right? And they were also asked to shut down because of the same reasons, because there were no work permits for all their workers. But what it does say, GB, it does say that the Jamaican people want efficient, cost
Yes.
effective, and speedy mechanic
Yes.
work.
It's not that we're not loyal to our own people, but we're just spending our money wisely.
True.
And we need time, things to be done on time. I can't be waiting for my vehicle for 6 months. And on top of that, you go to the supermarket with a friend and the mechanic drive it and park it in the parking lot
True.
with his
Don't it?
family.
Are you up on the bus? I see a mechanic I pick up feet pitney from school.
Yes.
All right, the next topic
It's
now.
not really funny, but
True. So the next topic now, GB, we're going to be looking at number 2, Chinese-made cars in Jamaica. So there has been a proliferation of
oh
Chinese-made
yes,
cars in Jamaica, and that's another way that people are saying, boy, China is really penetrating the Jamaican economic market,
mhm,
right? So this is a big thing. Now, a lot of this stems from the fact that there is a, what you would call it now, there is the trade wars that have been taking place.
yes, that is a significant factor that
Mhm.
is contributing to the Chinese influence on
So
our economy.
So basically, the Trump administration says that if a product is not made in the United States, he's going to
Yeah.
impose very strong tariffs on that product. And
Mhm.
for the Chinese, that is their auto industry that they're coming up with, especially with their EV cars, they're coming up with a lot of cost-effective EV cars.
EV cars, Kareem, EV cars, what does that mean?
Electric vehicles. I'm sorry, GB. I never wanted to use the auto jargon with you. So EV means electric vehicles. All right. So the world, I don't know. I mean, this is a different topic in and of itself. I mean, are electric vehicles sustainable? I don't know. I don't necessarily think that the Jamaican market can manage it as yet, right? For several factors. But they give the Chinese credit. They're trying their best to come up with electric vehicles that can be charged quickly. I mean, one of the biggest challenges is to charge them quickly, all right? But I'm not going to dwell too much into that. But what I can tell you
Okay.
is this,
Yeah.
because they can't get into the US market at a competitive rate due to the tariff, they have found other markets like the
Yes.
Caribbean markets, GB, right? So they have come into the Caribbean market. And I went to last year. I went to Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. And GB, I must tell you, I saw all these vehicles there. A lot of
Yeah.
Chinese vehicles there. So
They just flood the area with cars, yes, with
so
their
there,
vehicles.
yeah, man.
Mm.
So there's a lot of dealerships now in Jamaica, and these are some of the more prominent brands that you can find now professional dealerships in Jamaica for. So one of them is called BYD. And I think BYD means build your dream. Good, and that is an electric vehicle, GB. So you charge it
Okay.
so there's no
All
more
right.
combustible engine.
Okay.
Another one is GWM. No, GWM, no, I don't know, GB, if you can see this on the screen. The
I'm seeing it clearly.
the BYD is the one in the middle.
The BYD is
The vehicle in the middle,
the
right? The
white
white.
kind of SUV, right? High. Mm-hmm.
All right, now the GWM is, I think that one is called Great Wall Motors. Now, the pickup that you see there is called the P Series, and that's built by GWM, right?
Okay.
Now, the next one is BAIC. Now, they build the one that is at the bottom of the screen, and that one looks just like a Jeep. If you ever see a
The
Jeep Wrangler,
Jeepish. Yes, I'd say Jeepish. Yeah.
if you ever see a Jeep Wrangler, that's what it looks
Yes,
like,
it
right?
does. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then them have one now called Jetour. Now, Jetour looks just like a Land Rover Defender. Good.
Yes.
Needless to say, all of these vehicles have been in the market, and they're actually doing a very good job of creating alternative vehicles in terms of options, because traditionally we have gotten our vehicles from Japan and Europe. Now, Japanese vehicles, clearly Toyota is one of the, if not the
Mm-hmm.
best, right? And then you have other vehicles like Honda and Nissan. And then when you skip over to Europe now, you have vehicles like BMW and Benz and Audi, right? Anyway, we get to the crux of the matter now. This is the real big one now, GB. No, what is at the core of all of this, if Jamaica is going to be a Chinese colony and all of these things, is the fact that China has been extremely active in the infrastructural development or infrastructural roadwork that has been taking place in Jamaica, right? And at the center of all of that, GB, is Highway 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So come we talk about Highway 2000 now, GB. All right?
Mm-hmm. Also, the colony scare seem to really heighten with the highways 2000 highway 2000, but it's not a genuine colony, because where there's a colony, the motherland China would be there, that motherland would be taking care of us. But the truth is, we are getting something that we want, but there's no taking care of. As a matter of fact, we,
Have to
the
take yourself.
colonized, taking care of them because they're getting all a whole heap of land. Yeah?
So GB, I got GB, I jump in right now. This is what GB
Yes,
want to
yes. So I
All right,
don't know if it's colonizing. Sound like takeover. We need a new word.
all right. So let us get into it now. Now, Highway 2000, the concept of Highway 2000 is simply this. Jamaica has a plan to build a highway that goes right around the island. All right. So Highway 2000 is a concept that builds a highway right around the island. Now
That's beautiful.
the project started in 1999. No, let me just skip back. No, so the entire highway is supposed to span 230 kilometers. All right, when fully completed. So what about like from, just from let's say Kingston, Negril, go straight back round to the north coast and go Portland, St. Thomas, and come back to Kingston. That's really what the highway is going to be. No, the overall cost of the highway is US $1.3 billion, GB.
A whole lot of money.
That is a whole lot of money. Now let us start, about the origins of Highway 2000. This project was finalized and was initiated on September 1999 under the then Prime Minister PJ Patterson administration, right? And we're going to talk now to you about the first phase. Now, GB, the first phase, right, was what they call 1A. And this
What
phase
is it?
was from Kingston to Bushy Park,
That's the
right?
east to west?
Them call it East to West Highway.
Yes.
To Bushy Park, December 2004, right? And then they also had a part that connected to Causeway, which was finished on 2006. Now, let me just give people some context. Jamaica has 3 million people, 3.3 million people estimated, right?
Yes.
Of that 3 million, 1 million lives in Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine.
Six
So,
has St. Andrew.
and St. Catherine. So when you
Right.
group up all three of those territories, you have
So,
1 million people. 1/3 of Jamaicans live in those three territories. So that's no joke right there. So congestion has been a serious problem. Now, those highways, though, GB, were built by a French contractor. And I don't want to butcher this, GB. You want to try to
no,
pronounce it?
don't, I won't. I'm not that fluent.
So
But you could, I would advise you to spell his name.
all right, spell the
So that
contract.
the French in among us, somebody's going to tell us what it is.
Yeah.
Write it and break it down.
You know what? Let me try and see if I can get it on the screen because
And yeah,
since we don't want to pronounce it. Let me
an
just
anglicized version won't do.
yeah, right. Let me try and put it there. So there's a banner now on the screen. That's the name of the French contractor that built it. So you can go ahead and pronounce it. And that's the East West. Those are the phase 1A of the East West version of the highway. Now phase 1B was from Sandy Bay to Maypen, and it was completed in August 2012, right? 1C, also of the highway, GB, this is from Maypen to Williamsfield. I'm very familiar with this leg because it is still free. So
And it's very short. It's very short. It's a short trip. Yeah. Why is it still free?
I think it's because it's like an election thing, honestly, if you ask me. Right? I think
Oh,
right after election call, whichever government win, go and say, yo, what's that charge for this? But I just don't think they want that public outcry right now. Good. So that part of the leg is still free. Now the and that one was officially opened on September 14th,
yes.
2023. Right? Now this part of of it though was constructed by Czech, not the French company. All right.
Yeah, we soon have to name our babies Check.
No, the north south link no of the highway no that's another one no that is the big one. This is the one that take forever to build and was the most massive one. This is called phase 2A, and this is the leg that connects Kingston to Ocherius. Now this actually cuts down the journey, GB, by about an hour and a half till
Oh,
yeah man, it cut down
I
the
don't
journey.
want police. Well, police can't come after me anymore. We I made it in like 45 minutes. The money.
No, you see, GB, your foot heavy. So that people
Behave yourself.
don't listen to her. That's not how it must take you an hour. All right. No, this was finished in 2016, GB, right?
Yeah.
So this is basically where the phase is at. While significant portions are completed, the entire highway project, especially extending to Montego Bay, is still ongoing. No, we have never gotten a completion date as yet. So we don't
No.
know when it going to finish completely. Right?
And we there are those of us who feel that it's a strategy being used by the Chinese
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like every leg you go, you ask for more. We cannot turn a blind eye to they getting 1,200 acres and moving into the build hotel and stuff like that.
So we are going to know. That's a very good point you bring up. We're going to break down the deal that was struck with Czech, right, to do this project. Good. So let's get straight into that now. So the deal with Czech for the north-south link of Highway 2000 was structured very differently, GB, than the east-west phase.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So the northwest leg originated from an unsolicited proposal from Czech in 2011. So that was where the first red flag for a lot of people said, because people said that they did not have to do any open tender, right? Usually, when you are asked to do a lot of these biddings, you are expected, the government is expected to put out an open tender, and then you submit your tender, and whichever company has the best proposal, that's the company that you go with.
Not everybody saw it. I saw a red flag,
Mhm.
and I confess I didn't see it either.
Okay.
Because it just sounded like these people were so good and comfortable in the country. That is, but then it's kind of, some people might say don't, but they just feel like they have done work, they like being here, they're comfortable, so they're offered. But then it's about due process, isn't it?
So let's talk about what we know of the deal. Let's talk about some facts about the
Yeah,
deal, right? So the
yeah,
financial structure and the concession period. Now,
yes,
these are often what they call public-private partnerships, right?
right.
And they operate on the basis of build, operate, and transfer, meaning that the country, the outside country builds whatever it is, the infrastructure, they
Mhm.
operate it for a certain period, and then they give it
Yeah,
over
handover.
to the host country, right? And that's the model that's usually used worldwide. So China provides significant financing, technical expertise, and construction, right? And for that now, they are granted a 50-year toll concession, meaning that they can operate the toll for the next, well, they will operate the toll for the next 50 years. So they
Mhm.
started in 2016. So that would be 2066. They will hand over the toll to the Jamaican government. GB Allah. GB, go on. Get your mind.
50 years, my children won't be around and my grandchildren not going to benefit. 50 whole years and not, and you're getting all the tolls paid for 50 years? You crazy?
So
Half
GB,
a century?
how long did the USA get access to the Panama Canal?
And you really want to copy that?
No,
Or get access or take access?
okay. How long? How long was that? I just want to give the listeners some
It was
context.
like, what was it, 1912? Was a long time. But remember, they were chased out.
Okay,
So
so
maybe that will happen for us later
okay,
down.
so wait, so yes, so 1912 Panama
From
Canal
an,
came to it.
yeah, from an historical perspective,
Hmm.
then the people might rise up and say, you've got enough.
Okay, so
Our
how
time
long?
now.
Let me look it up. How long
Oh, the
was
Panama, yeah,
the
a
Panama
long time.
Canal? All right, let us see. Right,
The early 20th century.
it was from 1904 to
Mm-hmm.
1999. So that was like, yeah, that was almost like 100 years. Yeah, you
And
know,
so
over
it's
90 years.
95 years, 100 years, that man.
That's a lot of years. All right. So now let's talk about the rest of it now, right? So what do the Chinese get in return? So beyond the direct revenue from the tolls collected over the 50-year period, there are other significant benefits for Czech. Good. Land development. No, this is what you are talking about now. You're saying, so a part of this deal is this, GB. As part of the concession agreement for the North-South link, the government of Jamaica was obliged, and that's the word that came up, GB, to
I
provide,
don't like the word obliged. Is it a beautiful? It sounds like coercion, but please go ahead.
all right,
And then,
to provide Czech with approximately 1,200 acres, which is 425 hectares for people who still use that measurement, right, of land. And it is land that they say is contiguous to the highway development, meaning that it is land right beside the highway.
that's right.
Now, GB,
So,
I wanted to add a little context for our viewers. I did some research. Our national stadium is about 88 acres, right? So the national stadium is 88 acres. Let's round it
yes.
up to 100 acres. So this is 12 times the size of the
Size of the national stadium.
right.
That's a whole lot of land.
Yeah, that's a lot of village. Like that's where I guess you can build a village, right? Uh,
No, you can build a town.
a town, a small town. Yes, fair enough. A small town, true. Now, Czech has presented plans for development, including hotels and housing units, right? This is a crucial, often overlooked aspect of the deal, allowing them to monetize, that adjacent real estate. No, this was also at the crux of recent protests in the cockpit country, where people were wondering and residents were wondering if some of this land includes the cockpit country, which must remain untouched, and it must not be used for bauxite or anything else. Your views, GB?
What I will need to hold on to is that they owned this land, these acres, 1,200, owned by the Chinese. It's theirs to exploit as they so wish. And they have shown us what they want to make hotels and
Housing projects.
engage in high economic activities. But it's a deal. Good. What are we going to do if they are going to infringe on the environment? We don't know.
Right. So,
They're wiping out villages.
this is the part that the Jamaica people want clarity on, right? And
We need it. We need it.
I get you. All right. So the strategic influence, a deeper economic foothold, definitely, and a strategic presence in a key Caribbean nation, right?
Mhm.
Some people say, well, you might export labor and material. So while Jamaican workers are employed, a significant portion of specialized labor and materials can be sourced from China, benefiting Chinese industry. So people also saying, listen, if you're coming to our country, how are we going to benefit from it directly? And this is another thing that I think both governing parties struggle with, right? We, the people, are not feeling a lot of the benefits that come with some of these deals. So maybe the representatives from both governing parties can get kickback on whatever it is, but it doesn't trickle down to the average Jamaican. That's the sentiment
No.
of the people in the street.
And things like they bring their own everybody, their own workers. They're not teaching us. Shall I use the word natives for the time being?
Mm.
No, they're not passing on any skill to us. Yeah, it's casual labor or work, basically.
Yeah,
When we are not benefiting in any way. We're not learning new skills. So what you're saying is we will always provide our skills. You sit and watch us rape your country.
and I have a problem with that, even in the hotel industry. And I'm seeing
Mhm,
with a lot of national
mhm.
companies when they come, or a lot of international companies when they come, you don't see nobody, no Jamaican in upper management. And so, that is something that concerns me as well, right? We need to see Jamaicans in upper management for all of these companies, and not just somebody as a face, but somebody, because they always try to give like these kind of like an innocuous post,
Token,
and I don't
token.
need to meet a
Mhm.
statistic, so I'll hire
Yeah,
a Jamaican.
yes. But
Right.
it's a very tough one though, because the other side of it is that there's a big brouhaha now that our people, the Jamaicans here, they're not interested in working. They don't want to get skills.
Okay.
That they just want to get money, quick
Well,
money.
but
But and there's some truth to that too.
but let us.
Because I remember growing up, the man who was a Tyler, he lost his surname. Hi, how you doing, Tyler? Taylor, how you doing, Taylor? Yeah, you got your name
So here
according
what
to your skill. But
here what
I don't know.
my comment about that is, right. I think that there are workers at every level. So there is the
Mhm,
labor intense worker, right? This worker may not
mhm,
have any deep education. However, there are people at the middle level which are totally underrepresented, and that is why countless articles have said Jamaica is suffering a brain drain, right? So these are the workers now who they have their education and they are underemployed and now they are being placed in call centers more than anything else.
Where are our engineers? We have brilliant engineers.
Can't get work.
Jamaica,
Them can't get work GB here. So they're
you
gone
know,
abroad.
yeah. Oh man.
Our architects, they're gone abroad, right? Our civil engineers, they're gone abroad. I mean, there are countless people who have graduated from universities, whether NCU, UTech, UA, who have all of these qualifications, GB, but they can't get any work. So
I know.
that
I
segment is
know.
underserved, right? So let us talk about some of the controversies surrounding Highway 2000 so far, right? So despite the undeniable benefits of just improved connectivity, right? It has been plagued with its own, barrage of controversies. Now, the
Yeah.
transparency and the concession terms, that is definitely one of them. The
Yeah.
Jamaican people have always wanted to know, under both governments, I might add, right? Not just under the present government, which is the
No,
JLP
we
government,
don't take right.
also under the PMP government, people said, all right, but what do these deals, what are the kickbacks to these deals, right? People also look at the environmental impact. Now, Jamaica Environment Trust, which is
Yes.
JET,
13.
acronym,
Check.
they wrote a letter in the Observer stating that these highways can possibly be disastrous to the economical aspect of Jamaica during the construction. And in particular, they called out an area called Old Fort Bay in St. Anne. And they said that that place was at risk, right? They
Mhm.
also, in the issue, talked about deforestation and large
Well,
scale engineering works on steep slopes and how that can affect flooding.
we are going to have a lot of landslides, I tell you.
So
Lot of landslides.
I remember for that though, what they had done on the highway is they had planted a lot of trees, good GB, on those corridors.
Yeah, well,
Um,
yes, they did.
yes, with the hopes of finding that. Another
Kind
topic,
of bringing it back. Yes.
yeah, another topic that people were having controversy with was the toll rates and the alternate routes. So for the toll rates, people say, oh, we don't have any say in how much you're going to want to increase the toll. And what if the number gets too exorbitant? Good. The next thing what people are talking about is the business, which I mean, this is a part of life. Faith spend is now a ghost town in a GB.
Hello. Don't make me sad. I know.
Faith spend is a ghost town, right?
And the farmers who used to do their yam or have roast yam, their children don't want, they're not going to do it because who you going to sell it to?
Right. And also porous on the other end of it, which is the east west, porous
Yes.
dry now in a GB. Porous is
I
another.
know. So sad.
Yeah, man. And even where the
But it's unfortunate because it seems to me that once you have this forward movement, because it's evolutionary, right? So we are going to have to change. Technology change. The world is changing. We're evolving. We don't want to be left behind. But we sacrifice. Some things are going to be sacrificed. And maybe it's a harsh reality.
It 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 is definitely a harsh reality, GB, especially for those vendors. Now, to put certain things into context, right? Are we still under this influence? I mean, China's global infrastructure footprint is beyond Jamaica still in a GB, right?
Oh, I know. They're
China
all over
is
the place.
engaged in similar massive infrastructure projects across the globe,
Yeah, they're in Kenya,
particularly in
right?
developing nations.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, let me tell you what our research found in terms of other places that they are in. So, in Kenya, they built this place
Mm-hmm.
called Standard Gauge Railway, right, which connects Mombasa to Nairobi. So they did that. In Ethiopia, they built another railway that connects Addis Ababa to another place. In Pakistan, they have the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, right? In Sri Lanka, They also built the infrastructure work there in a place called, I've never heard this place, Laos, Laos, right? They have China Laos Railway. And in Latin America, they have done a lot of energy infrastructure in places like Venezuela, Ecuador, and Guyana. So not just Jamaica.
So, uh, maybe sooner or later we'll all be speaking Mandarin.
I think it's too hard to learn. I think listen, that's the one biggest restriction with China. The language is extremely complicated to speak and more so to write.
Well, I didn't say writing, I said speak,
Because
but no,
I've never heard a Jamaican.
it's sleeping. They're like a typhoon, man.
I've never heard a Jamaican catch on for a Chinese word fast. Never. You know, like how Jamaicans will say hasta la vista or adios or something.
Mhm.
Never
The
heard.
older people, some of the older folks, like my father, in the early days, the bakery was where I think he used to work at the bakery as a young person before he went to the army. And he knows a few of those words.
Okay, that's very good of him. So let us talk a little bit. Let us put things into context and let us talk a little bit about the history of China's involvement in Jamaica. So I mean, even though we are looking at this surge in economic involvement, but there is also a historical story that is there in the sense that Chinese have been a part of Jamaican culture. Our culture says
Of course.
out of many,
That's why they're a part of our national motto.
one people. All right.
Yes.
So Chinese came here first in the mid 19th century. That might be about like 1845.
1845 to 15,
Right. And
in the post-slavery period.
they came here as indentured workers, primarily to work on the sugar cane plantation after emancipation. Right, GB?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the
So
indenture there means that it's an old word for contract. Just like we go into Canada and America to pick apples.
farm
It's
contract.
a contract workers.
How long were these contracts?
They were to last for 3 to 5 years. And the agreement, the contract says you work for 3 to 5 years, you are paid in cash or kind. That is, provide shelter for you and your food too. So cash, kind, or you share the profit.
Okay, then.
So if you live on the land, they allow you to live on the land. The former houses of the barracks of the slaves, yeah, that would be part of your payment, kind.
Okay.
Right? If at the end of your contract you wanted to continue working, you would sign a new contract.
Mhm.
However, very few of them did. Some of them just walked off the estate, the sugar estate, just walked away. The truth is, many of them reneged on their contract.
Okay.
And also, the former slave masters forgot that they were not their properties and even putting them on the treadmill. So many of them just left and they have been contributing to our society um, for many, many years.
So the Chinese left.
Because,
The Chinese left and they did something that was also very ingenious to their community. They became shopkeepers and started
yes,
small business. So for many of us, we know a little Chinese corner shop and we call the person Mr. Chin.
everybody's a Chin, Mr. Chin, yes.
And then the Chinese also built their homes on top of their shops.
Yes, you have shop downstairs, you live upstairs.
And to be fair to them, too, they also had this thing where they would give credit.
They did, you have the little red book. You're too young. That little red book that in the week that them trust you. You go and trust goods and you pay. We had very good business relationship with them, you know.
Mhm.
Those who had the corner shop, the grocery shops, and
Mhm.
those who did not have grocery shops were pork butchers. Yeah. And some of them planted rice. Yes. So they spread out and they start to contribute and they integrated into the society. Or other than that, there was not much intermarriage
Mm-hmm.
between the Chinese and the blacks
Mm-hmm.
for the ex-slaves, but they integrated well.
All right. So, and then after that too, they expanded and they started to do a lot of what you call it now, bakeries, because majority of the bakeries in Jamaica are all Chinese owned, right? So you're talking about from
Even now, so coming down generational.
Juicy Beef, right? These are all Chinese owned places in Jamaica. So
The party places.
and then they have the wholesale too,
Oh yes,
right? So
masters of wholesale business.
yeah, don't it,
Can't
master.
take that from them.
So what we want to make clear is that for Chinese people who have been in Jamaica, beyond a generation, that person is a Jamaican. So that's not who we're talking about, right? If you, yeah, if your parents were born in China and you are born in Jamaica, right? You are Jamaican, a Jamaican Chinese if you want to say, but you are Jamaican, right? So we're not. This issue is not talking about if that Chinese person is colonizing Jamaica, but we're talking about the new age and the new geopolitical,
New
right?
age.
Yeah, the new age and the geopolitical strategies that we're seeing
Well,
taking place.
let us say about 20, 25 years now.
Mhm.
On. But Kareem, you know that in the early years back in the 1950s, like, I think in the 1950s, like it was a Chinese man who would have own a truck. But funny enough, they never seemed to learn to drive the truck. It was a black person who would usually be the truck driver.
Okay.
So even then, it's so totally different because they employed us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Though they employed their own children had to come from school. And my mother says stand on soapbox and whatever and serve and whatever. But that's why I said they integrated, they benefited. And those who were here, other racial groups benefited. So the trucks were used to transport market people, because you needed that. That way you come over Mavis Bank Hill from Portland.
So
Yeah, so they have really, really been a part of us, of the backbone of this country, and rightfully earned their place out of many one
right. So
people.
we definitely want to separate that in terms of what we are talking about in as opposed to the Chinese who are Jamaicans, right? So
I like that.
yeah, because we are talking about the influx of geopolitics in terms of what has been happening in the last 25, 20 years in
Mhm,
in
mhm.
Jamaica and other developing countries in terms of where do we stand as a smaller country, because ultimately GB, I know that nobody helps for free, right? But at the end
No.
of the day we do not want to be you know quote unquote pillaged of our resources, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where Jamaican people suffer. We don't want
Uh,
to come here
yeah.
and
We
suffer.
don't want the rapacious mentality
Mm.
that now exists. Call it by name.
So, for all those who are watching, you share your views, you let us know. Remember, you can go to my website, kareemsquest.com/news. It is also on the screen. You can just scan it. Yeah, I put up the QR code where you can scan it and you can read this article and look at the sources for yourself and then form your own opinion. What do you think about it? What do you think about, the influx of, the Chinese government in terms of our economic infrastructure. What I mean, share your views as well. And GB also has her lovely book, which is called Her Power, Her Glory. You can purchase that book. It's on Amazon. You can look out for the link as well on my website. So, what I mean, we want to incorporate you as much as possible. My diaspora people, GB, this is kind of the reason why we do this, for a lot of the diaspora people, them too.
We keep them alive and they keep us alive.
Cause some people, GB, some people left Jamaica from all in the 70s and they have never gotten a chance to come back, you know.
to come back. It's not because they hate us. Just, the fairy tale does not always work out, but we love them so, and they'll still love us.
And them love us too, you understand? I mean, people are
Oh,
just trying to
sure.
sort out themselves. So listen, love your support of Kareem's Quest. And remember, you can go to Kareem's Quest and find more of our me and GB do some whole heap of podcasts, So you can find so
Yeah.
many of our podcasts that you can enjoy, And remember nostalgic Jamaica, because we don't just hit hardcore news, you understand? And when you go there, you can go to my website as well. And as I say, you can go to the page and just watch as much of the podcast as you can. And remember, long time Jamaica. As usual, as well, we say to them people, what we saying at Jamaica when I left GB?
Wow, good.
There you go. Well, good people.